Hey, good morning. Welcome to, this is going to be week 47. We're continuing on the Book of Enoch. Okay. And we're starting just a quick, trying out a new setup here where it's more interview style. And Brenda, who is the producer for my videos and for the Elect Life, is come on, and I'm going to ask some questions and we're going to talk through some things because we're kind of covered chapters 1 through 16. And there's a lot of information. If you've never heard this information before, it is rather mind-blowing. But we have heard this before. We are mature. We've already chewed on it. But there's some very key things that I want to make sure we understand and wrap up so we can move on. But before I say that, there was watching a video earlier, and the enemy is packaging the truth so close to those of us who are awake and understand on so many levels, because we're understanding the layers of reality and how it works. But it sort of triggered me a little bit because I'm like, no, your statement, lady, is not right. I'm not buying it. So I want to just clarify this because my source material for everything that I teach and I say comes straight from the oral Torah, married to the written word. Now, I'm not going to unpack that right now. I have a lot of videos, but this is what's important. I want to tell you that in Deuteronomy, and write this down because just check it, go back and check me, fact check me. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 30, 31, Moshe is told by Yahweh, by God, and to send all the children home. They've just had this incredible, experience. And he said, now tell all the people to go home. But you stay, Moshe, and you have the elders stay, and have Joshua stay with me, because we got more to talk about. It's right there in the verse. It's clear as a bell. Now, if you think logically, you can put yourself in that situation. So there's Moshe now. He doesn't have all of Israel there. He's just got a select group. And that the information that Moshe gets and expounds to them, they are now responsible for, and he gives them the oral Torah. He gave it to them orally. That's what it says in the text. That's what the implication is. And that is the Kabbalah. And I'm tired of people trashing it because they know nothing about it. You are just being totally led around, a little noose in your mouth, by the wicked spirits who are trying to discredit it. But I want to say another thing. What she said is that, and this is what people are discovering, but she says that the Bible holds the code words or the script or the plan to the Bible. And I want to say something. It doesn't. If you understand the tree of life and pars and where we're at, no, it gives you just a lot of stories, history, morality, different things. But it is in the Kabbalah, in the sod level, where you will get the code. And if you are not at that level, if you don't understand, and that's what the Father's getting ready to release, then you are going to be prone to every spirit that's out there. Because there's one foundation, it's already been laid. Judah has been holding on to it for dear life, and it was prophesied it was going to get released in the last days so that everybody can, kind of so God can get the last word into everybody. It's like, I'm here, I've always been around, I've known everything, I'm totally in control. All right. So that being said, you have to take the information in Enoch, as I've said, it is a coded book. You have to have the keys to the kingdom. I'm not making them up. They are in the writings. They have been in the writings. And if people are just releasing YouTube and kind of bumping their gums, you can listen to them. I don't really care. But the people who know me, and you can have testimony, my producer, Brenda, and other people, I have personally read this stuff. I have vetted it. I have firsthand understanding. Okay. Now, what I want to say, so that is being said, what it will tell us when you get a bigger picture of the Torah is there's 3 categories that we're dealing with. Okay. We're dealing with wicked men. That's very important. Men. Okay? They walk around like men, but they're wicked. We're men, but we are righteous and we are of the Father. Okay? Now let's just keep going. But there's some kind of disconnect here. That's the whole storyline. Then you have the fallen angels. In the story, there's a whole bunch of fallen angels doing a whole bunch of shit. I'm sorry. I'm triggered. I have to say these things because it's so out in the open now. And so many people are sleeping and the consequences are so big. So then you have the demons. Okay. Now these are basically the 3 categories of entities, of things that are around us that can influence us. Okay. And they have, and this is called history. But wicked men starts, and I want to go into Enoch. So with that understanding, because if you don't really understand, like a lot of people don't really understand what the demons are, because they don't, you've got to know where to put everything on the tree of life. Okay, it's already coded in there, and I'm not making this up. So wicked men is pretty obvious. And Yeshua said, so let me start here. He basically said, and I'm pulling out a little bit of verses from in the chapters 1 through 16 of Enoch and a couple of the footnotes, because this guy really gets it. So it says here that the giants were the product of this, or a lustful connection. Now we have understood that. And being the children of spiritual fathers, but begotten in sin, they are evil spirits. Okay, so we have to kind of unpack what that means. Then we're going to go down. But the point is, we don't have literal giants around today, but we still have giants of wickedness. Okay, there's nothing on this. They are still there. They have still been operating. They still influence. So how do you know them? And Yeshua says in John 8:44, he tells us, you will know them by their fruit. As he calls out a certain group of religious leaders. You think they would be? He says, you are of your father, the devil, and you are doing the same works that he did. He was a murderer from the beginning. So there has to be a shift here in understanding. The Torah is on its level where I said, where it's not like talking in a code. It is direct and as literal as you can get. These people have a soul connection that is not coming from God, and it's about ready to get cut off unless they repent. Okay, so these are wicked men, these in league with fallen angels, a lot of times and of the seed of Cain, as we've understood. Then you do have these fallen angels, which is, like he says, now angels, let me go to this other verse in okay, now he talks about, like in one verse, and I'm in chapter 12, he ends it with the fallen angels in this particular time. There have been many fallen angels. These fallen angels have always been with us and dogging down and coming to earth and going back and doing different things. The Bible really records this whole episode in Genesis 6:3, the whole chapter of Genesis 6. But he says here that these watcher angels left their high heaven or their estate, a holy and eternal place, and have contaminated themselves with women and have done as the children of men do, and have taken to themselves wives and are contaminated in great contamination, okay, upon the earth. The first episode, we're really giving outside of Cain and Abel's story in the garden. Again, well, it really is through all the literature. It's constantly happening. This cross breeding going on between high heaven angels, all right, and men. Now, what are angels? See, this is the point. They are able to and let me just go to this. There's another in the footnotes where he talks about the whole rub was, let me just read this footnote. He says, and this is in the Torah, so if you've never heard this is what is being going. The forbidden union between an Israelite and a heathen could be forgiven. Remember, there's this unforgivable sin this was referring to. That's always been known. But a forbidden union between an angel and a woman cannot be forgiven. And it's because we're not just dealing with the sin of the body and the child. We're dealing with a crossbreeding situation, all right, which is a whole different animal. And we know how that went. So this is the unforgivable sin. And it has been going on. It has gone on. The Bible tells us about it. This is a very real thing, occultic literature. I mean, it says it's darkness to speak about the things that they do in the dark. No, I mean, it's burdensome. It's difficult to talk about the things that they do in the dark because it's so like heinous. But we have to be wise as serpents. We have to understand the level of the warfare that is totally out in the open on us today. But then there's another quote here. Now it says here that the angels are originally spiritual. This is the point. And are represented here after their fall as possessing both soul and body like men. So if you crossbreed something that's half man and half, you're going to get a semi-corporal person. Okay, but their nature, especially the soul nature, the root soul nature is going to be coming from a totally different source. So these are things that this is what is in Enoch. It is alluded to in our Torah. You like I've always said, this is material that is usually more for the adult, the mature. You don't want to scare little kids, but it's there. And Ephraim, I'm talking to you, Christianity, get over it. You need to get into these works, because what is soon to come upon the face of the earth is going to blow everybody out of the water, and you're going to be jumping out of windows just like everybody else. Okay, because you do not have within your house the level of teaching that is needed today to have oil in your lamp. There's another in chapter 14. It goes on to talk again, and I'll tell you, it says that the angels are from eternity. That's in the footnote. This is the concept within Enoch, and because it's the oldest word. So if it's the first book of the Bible, it's telling us exactly the category. Angels are from eternity, and I'm going to flush this out. But again, we get another witness down here in chapter 15, and he says again, the contrast lies here between spiritual and eternal on the one hand, and flesh and mortality on the other. We're talking about two species that are crossbreeding, and what is going to be the fruit of that, what is that offspring, okay? The angels, being eternal, do not require propagation as a means of the preservation of their kind, and thus their lust caused them to step out of their sphere. Now, let me say this again. First of all, this is the first thing to understand about God. Yod He Vav He, Hashem, the high, he is eternal. He alone is eternal. We, on the other hand, will receive a state like the angels. The word should be immortality. So this is why the Hebrew doesn't lie. There's a difference between eternity and immortality. They're not exactly the same. Can you even imagine that? Would you even think to ask that question if you didn't understand and know the tree of life and knew the progression? All right. But we will live forever. I mean, if you're going to be living billions of years, what's the point? You might as well live for eternity, because it's like, to us, from our perspective, but we are not God. Here's what Luz was trying to do. He was trying to be this eternal being, equal with God, the eternal one. And no, that ain't going to happen. Okay. So that's just a little footnote in there. But the point is that the angels are immortal. That's why, and they are what it means when the angels are from eternity. That's what it's saying. That's why the Father, again, he had to cut it off. He had to cut off the ability for their seed, the seed now of Cain and the woman, to enter into, take their offspring into immortality like that. All right. He had to cut them off. They became, quote unquote, dead. That had to happen. Okay. So I hope you can see that. It's really, I'm totally clear. Okay. Now, the last point I want to make again, and we talked about the unforgivable sin and how the angels, now it says here that the angels do not require propagation. All right. This gets back, and this again, perfect confirmation of this whole concept of how information is stored and coded for retrieval. When you understand nature and you understand the allegory, you can extract from it, just like you would honey from the honeycomb, the deepest level of meaning. So the means of, so the angels propagate. We know that. He even talks about the fire angels that propagate so fast, they propagate every day. They die, they propagate again the next day. They propagate. Okay, that's just pure raw energy, just constant motion. Okay, but then there are other angels that seems to stay in their energy level, their energy, but they live. Okay, so there's different. The Torah tells us it's even broken down even more. But for argument's sake, they did not have the angiosperm. They propagated, like I am saying, in a gymnosperm way, which is perfectly fine. Okay, for them it worked. Okay, they're immortal beings. It's perfect. You just keep cloning yourself, cloning yourself, cloning yourself. Okay, but the lust, the fallen angels on the other side. Okay, remember we've talked about the left side, and that's where all the bad stuff is. But that has to exist somewhere. These spirits of lust. That's what these fallen angels basically were. A big, I mean, seriously, what's a rape gang full of anyways? They're just full of lust. I mean, come on, who would do something like that? You gotta be out of your mind, right? Or not in a godly mind. So anyways, this is sort of what we're dealing with. But gosh, I forgot what I was going to go with that. Okay, I was going to touch on the last concept of demons. Okay, so we kind of, fallen angels, lower level angels, and they're being cast down to the earth. So what we're coming to is the final, there's been war in the heavenlies. This is what the Torah tells us, right? Michael the archangel is up there fighting the dragon. And not in a little, what are they talking about? Well, the Father's cleansing the lower heavens. They're pretty polluted with these species. And I don't want to unpack, hoping your mind can stay on a high level of wickedness. Okay. He created many of them. It's time for them to be fired up. I mean, to be put out by fire. Okay. Because their usefulness is done. But then there's a whole lot that have kind of joined in. It's also been a testing, a furnacing, of all the other categories, the fallen men, the wicked men, and now demons. Okay. If an angel is an immortal being, right, which you've established, immortal, it has this insane, really, it has the same life, what would you call it? Life force, lifetime, so to speak, as the creation does. He created all the angels on the first day. That's what it says. Okay. And he started to separate them. I believe it's the first day. But the point is, they were already there. But then as you come down understanding all this, we get to these levels of more and more corporeality, physicality gets denser and denser, and you blow a hole. This two-legged, two-armed head being just kind of walks out of the atmosphere. It's like, wow, here I am. I'm a fall. Okay, I hope I'm not digressing too much. Anyways, these angels, they still have their soul. Their bodies died. Their corporeality was washed out in the flood, was destroyed, done. They could not anymore cohabitate or live in this level as a man or as what would everything, a chimera, all these re-engineered entities. Okay. But their spirits still remain. That's the next story of demons, and they're in watery places. Okay, now this is a key, because when you understand the tree life, doesn't mean they're in a different domain now, but water refers to, and we have to think our blood, right? The life of the flesh is in the blood. It's the watery surface. Their energy, their intelligence, their malevolence still dwells in the earth in watery places. And this is why we're getting to the last point. Demons are really like pharmakia, this kind of demons move through. They can get into us and they can operate in our physical body still and wreak havoc, because our body is what, 96% watery places or something like that, So it's a category of intelligence, and that's what the Torah is always doing. It's trying to tell us, you want to be protected from that? Okay, well, eat this way and dress this way and follow this energy cycle, be in the right place at the right time, so I can always bless you and cover you and protect you. Okay, because the Father said quite clearly, no, I'm not taking them out yet. It's not time. I'll leave 10%. Actually, if you read the story in mercy, guys, I said, all right. I'll lock up. And if the text was tampered with and we don't have it doesn't matter. The principle is the same. The Father said, all right, I will even lock up the watery spirits, the what's left of them, which, because God can do that, but he left 10% to torment mankind. Still, it is a judgment on those who break the law. And then so I just wanted to say all that, and I want to bring Brendan on because she has some questions, some more specific things, and that's kind of so we'll see where that takes us. Okay, let's go down a rabbit hole. Brenda.
Well, on that was what I have is when we go into the stories of chimeras, and they do a lot of talking about the Titans and a lot of the myths and mysteries and stuff. So that actually could be very true.
Absolutely. And if I have read, I'm not an expert, I'm telling you, but I have read enough of the histories of the ancient world, which you have to really do, Berosus and Herodotus, and a lot of these people who are, considered great historians in their age, like Josephus, and the work remains because it's such a great work. But they will all testify. They talk about Noah. They talk about him. They name them. In some of the texts, they have different names, like Noah is called, I don't know how to say it, Xthan, Xenthan, but in the history is known that they have all known about this race, about the race of Adam, and then you have about the race of Cain, and then not so you have all these other quote unquote hybrid races. Okay, and the mythology, like the Titans and the Olympians, that is the story literally of how God said he was going to judge the fallen angels before the flood. He said, look, you're going to watch your offspring kill each other. They're so bad. And you're just going to see, you're not going to be able to anything to do about it. So it was like a superior race, the Titans versus the Olympians and this thing. And it was really a huge bloodbath, but they killed each other. bottom line. And then the Father came and he cleansed the earth with the flood. But all of them, and then it carried over. We flood the flood. We know that. We know that some of these characters came through, and there's all this information, okay? But and started up again, because we know that Nimrod, who was the first, again, antichrist or world leader after the flood, who came against the righteous remnant. He came against Abraham, and Abraham was a king on the earth. You're coming against one of God's anointed. I'm telling you. And and there were a lot of battles and things happened, and Nimrod was stripped. It didn't work. He was not the final, obviously, Antichrist. But these stories are real. Nimrod, it says how he hibernized himself. He became 2/3 angel and 1/3 man. Okay. He already had Canaanite seed in him. But now and I consider this, I like this, liken this to, okay, and the military's doing this today. They're all doing it. They went into Iraq, not because of all this other crap. They went in there because, all right, I can't prove this, but this makes the best sense to me. This is the best theory, because everybody wants to figure out who's going to ride the beast. But they went because they had found Nimrod's body. They had found the grave in the body, and there was still enough life in that corpse to get live DNA to start to clone him again. See, this is all, so we're coming back. And they're all trying to make super soldiers. Does that make sense? What else would it might be? This is the part. This is a lot of the giants, the height, the strength, the way they can terrorize mankind, the way the whole story went. I mean, that is deliberate, full knowledge. That's what the angels how to re-engineer things. And if you're on the wicked side, hey, you'll take advantage of anything. If God didn't make you 6 foot, gene splicing can make you 20 feet. I mean, that's possible. Okay, right? So, because another thing I want to say, Philo, who's another great historian within the Jewish tradition, totally reputable. Everybody reads him. Well, he even explained it. He said, look, I'm a Torah follower. Why would I make them my gods? Because these were heroes of old. So people were rooting for the hero. He said, if you look at the actions of the gods, if you read the stories, they're completely immoral. They murder, they kill, they steal, they loot. They have all this wicked behavior. Even in mythology, look at Game of Thrones. That is nothing more than a repackage. And what is their behavior? It's completely wicked. That's what I'm saying. We have to recognize them by their fruit. Just cut them off. So I hope it's going to get plainer and plainer. And that's all we're going to have, is to be able to judge people by their fruit. And if you don't know what legitimate biblical fruit is, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Okay, on that note, there's an awful lot of discussion about the gods are coming back.
Yeah.
Some of them are saying that they're already here. So I take that this is very timely, because we are going to have to discern what's going on today.
And only the awakened, only the virgins, with oil in their lamp. What do we know oil is? Oil is the level of Chokmah and Bina. You've got to get wisdom and understanding. You've got to get above what's going on, or you'll be subject to, and this is my plea to everyone, look at, you're being played, because the way the system works, it's a dialectic. There's a left side, there's a right side, and there's a middle pillar, okay? They're constantly trying to, like this one video we talked about, I'm not going to mention names. She's got a ton of information that sounds like, oh, she's onto it. She's got all this knowledge about what's going on. She's got a plan. And yes, everything she said in that cat, it was basically accurate. But what she was bringing people into, the difference between her level of spin or understanding and mine, I'm telling you, you must come in the narrow way through the middle pillar to this whole, the tree of life, which is Yod-Heh. Well, I'm doing half in Hebrew. We'll have Yod-Heh Vav. That is the name of God. But the point is, we are being played, Democrat versus Republican, or black versus white, or rich or poor, or now awake or what, the whole thing. It's really ridiculous. There is a path through the middle, and actually, we could go through to Brittany's question, but go ahead. I don't know, did that answer your question in any sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'll stop screen sharing.
No, that was great. That
And we'll,
really explained a lot.
yeah, yeah. So no, I like Enoch. It's getting me fired up. I feel like it's coming together. This and it's time, because I'm telling you what, it's time. And it looks at to the elect, to the righteous. If you love truth, if you love God, if you love your soul, whatever, figure out He has a name. Don't be tripped up by religion or all the stumbling blocks or what. There is a name. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. It's not like, it's much bigger. It is the systematic theology of how to understand God on every level and be able to answer truth no matter what man poses at you. Okay. And we've got to get to that level, because we've got to put down all these isms. Having other gods or it is like being full of isms. Well, I'm going to, if it wasn't pantheism or, today it's communism. Or what do you want to believe? You want to believe in socialism. You want deism. You want to believe in, progressivism, and all these isms. No, I want to believe and I want to understand Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. That's His name. So come on the journey. We're having fun. And I thank my whole team here at the Elect Life, because I feel like we're really pulling something together that is really going to bless all of us as we are still in the nations. Shalom, shalom.
Amen.